4 D&D tips from Star Trek TNG's 11th worst episode. It originally aired on February 1st, 1993, and currently holds an IMDb rating of 6.0. It is entitled Aquiel. The Enterprise visits an isolated communications station to find the crew missing and murder and intrigue around every corner, plus a dog in an air vent. Geordi falls in love with yet another woman long distance as he is required to watch Aquiel's log entries during the murder investigation. It turns out that Aquiel is still alive and things get complicated. There's a minor B story involving Klingons, which apparently no longer have a peace treaty with the Federation, though that's unclear. The theme of aliens using crystals in sex continues, oddly enough. I remember hating this episode when it first aired. I must admit, I found it better this time, though I would have rather rewatched Shades of Grey, because there is a lot of problems. The investigation doesn't feel real, and there are some jumps in logic. The special effects are uncharacteristically bad. There's a massive continuity error, even bigger than the one in Imaginary Friend. According to my research, the producers had wanted Geordi and Aquiel to marry, but they ultimately thought that LeVar Burton and Renee Jones did not have the best on-screen chemistry, and the character was dropped from the show. Personally, I rate most of the romance episodes lower because that's not why I watch Star Trek. Another way to sum up this episode is that Geordi sleeps with the prime suspect during a murder investigation he's conducting, and then offers her work incentives in exchange to continue the relationship once she is found innocent. Dungeon Master tip number 1. Journal entry. Geordi must gain access to Aquiel's and the other crew members' logs to help figure out the mystery. Journal entries are a storytelling trope dating back centuries, to be conservative. Let's use them in our games. The player characters can always discover an adventurer's journal, which will give them clues to dungeons, treasures, or other secrets. Reading the Queen's journal could help the party understand why she wants the negotiations with another kingdom to fail. There is so much that can be done with journals. And as a bonus, players love them because it reminds them of the fiction they have enjoyed. Dungeon Master tip number 2, shape changers. The real murderer in the episode is a life form that assumes the shapes of its victims. Shape changers abound in D&D. Use them to mess with your players, in a good way, of course. You could break a cliche here, though. In the episode, the person consumed by the life form became angry and irritable. That's usually what happens in fiction when shape changers are involved. You could try the reverse. The doppelganger in place of the person is nicer and kinder than the original. Dungeon Master tip number 3, red herrings. Suspicion switches from Aquiel to the Klingons to the other crew members several times. DMs can be tempted to place red herrings into adventures. However, more often than not, that is a mistake. Players are great at coming up with their own red herrings. They're always thinking the innkeeper is shady or that the blacksmith is up to something. Use the red herrings your players give you rather than introduce your own. Dungeon Master tip number 4, investigations. Aquiel is a mystery supposedly modeled after the 1944 film noir feature Lara, directed by Otto Preminger. The story requires an investigation. In Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing games, investigations can be difficult if we place clues behind perception rolls. If the players need to roll a 16 to find the scrap of cloth left at the scene of the crime, and the highest roll is a 12, there's a problem. The story can't progress because they didn't find the clue. This actually speaks to a larger problem in RPGs that I have mentioned before. It is impossible for the DM to plot an adventure. We simply cannot say, when the player character finds this, then that will happen. We never know what the players are going to do or what they're not going to do. A better way to handle clues is to place them based on player actions. For example, if a player says they are searching a room and they specifically mention looking under a chair, place the scrap of cloth under the chair so their character can find it. If you have them make a roll, give them the clue no matter what the dice result is. I know some will complain that the rules don't matter then. They are correct. The rules don't matter. Welcome to the wild world of tabletop RPGs. There you have it, 4 D&D tips from Star Trek TNG's 11th worst episode. If you want me to keep making these videos, please like and subscribe. I create DM resource books. You can find the links in the description below. Thank you, and keep gaming.